Hello, kidney warriors. James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach, and this is Dadvice TV episode number 341. Woo! I'm going to have to start counting seasons and episodes because that number is getting huge. Now, tonight we are going to have a great session with someone you guys have loved, who's only been on here I think 2 or 3 times. I think this might be his 4th visit here. It's a nephrologist. We'll see if anyone out there can guess who it is. Who do you think it is that is our co-host today as we talk about things? Let me know in the chat and we'll see who's right first. But we are going to talk about kind of kidney myths and kidney truths. There's so many things out there, especially when you're first diagnosed and you're going out there and you're looking on the internet. It's hard to know what's real and what's not. There is all sorts of advice. Every Facebook group seems to be giving it out. Cranberry juice. This will cure your kidney disease. This and this and this. 99.9% of it is not very helpful. And we're going to dive into that kind of information and find out the truth about a lot of these common myths and what actually does help. What are things you can start doing today that you may not be doing that can help take off some of that burden on your kidneys, put the brakes on the progression of kidney disease? All right, so let's go ahead and let's welcome my co-host. You guys know him, you guys love him. I think this is his 5th visit. Dr. Rick. Hey. Is this your 3rd, 4th, or 5th visit? Which one is it?
Oh, I don't know. You can't even count them when I'm on your show. It's so enjoyable to be on your show. And it's great that you are leading the Kidney Warriors. And I am just very happy to be here and to help help educate and answer questions that your group might have.
Perfect. Now, can you tell a little bit about your background? Because some people may be seeing you for the first time, and I think it's really important for them to know where the co-hosts come from so they know they can trust the information they're hearing from them.
Well, I'm a kidney specialist and a nephrologist is what we call. And I have been practicing for decades. I actually trained in the early 80s and I ended up as a professor at the University of Washington. And also I worked at Baylor in Houston, where I ran the kidney division. I was at the University of Florida, where I was the Gatorade professor, because Gatorade was invented by a kidney specialist in my division there before I was there. And it was one of the great breakthroughs because it was the first sports drink. And then I've been a professor and chief of kidney disease at the University of Colorado. And I'm a founding editor of our clinical textbook on kidney disease that's been the leading textbook since 2000 when we came out with the first edition. We're actually working on the 8th edition right now. So I've been immersed in kidney disease. I do research in it. I have patients that I've taken care of for decades, and I teach and I write. I participate in the textbook, but I'm currently retired. I just retired in the last year, but I'm still actively involved in education and our textbook and even a little research.
Perfect. Now let's dive right in to the very first thing I remember hearing, and I thought, oh, this has got to work. It sounds like it's got to work. I've heard this my entire life. Can cranberry juice flush your kidneys, unclog them? Because maybe kidney disease is a clogging problem. Does that really work? Is there any truth to that?
Very little, but but let me tell you a little bit about cranberry juice. And whenever there's a lot said about a particular treatment, usually there's some kind of basis behind it that led to people thinking that it might be useful. And in the case of cranberry juice, uh, it contains things called flavonols, which are common plant products, and they're often in fruits. And these products have lots of biologic activity. And it was there were little case reports that it had a benefit on kidney infections, not on kidney disease, not reversing kidney disease, but on treating bacterial infections of the kidney. And there were a number of studies that found that some of these flavonols actually block bacteria from sticking to the tubules in the kidney, so that there might actually be a potential benefit. Over the years, there have been more than 100 clinical studies, and unfortunately, most of them have not been done in a careful way. So there's usually some critical control missing, but there is a general feeling, if you do look at systematic reviews, with that there may be a partial benefit on preventing urinary tract infections, like kidney infections in particular. So there is a suggestion of benefit. Is it like super beneficial? No, but that may be a benefit. Now, interestingly, just drinking several glasses of water, can also have a partial effect on reducing urinary tract infections. And so, does it treat kidney disease? No, it does not treat kidney disease. If you are diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, should you drink cranberry juice? Yeah, you can drink it, but it's not really going to benefit you for your kidney disease. If you have recurrent urinary tract infections, you might get a little bit of a benefit. It may be worth trying. Many people don't, but there are enough reports out there that there may be, and there is a potential mechanism. So there could be a potential benefit. Do nephrologists recommend it? No, we don't. And why? Well, because we don't think that there's strong enough evidence. But there might be some partial benefits. And when I look at it, I go, yeah, there may be some individuals who might benefit from it. But so if you're a person with a lot of urinary tract infections, you could try it and drink lots of water. Drinking water is really important. That's really key.
Yep, very good. And I always have my water bottle. I've had this Camelback thing for like 6 years. It has survived so many runs through the dishwasher. 52 ounces of water. I try to do 3 of these a day if I can. Of course, that's that. I do not have any urinary tract infection drinking that much water.
Well, there is a study. There are clinical studies, mainly what we call epidemiology, where they look at populations. So it's not like a trial. But there are studies that suggest that people who have kidney disease will benefit by increasing the amount of water they drink, and that if you drink very little water, you have a higher risk of progressing. So when we talk about simple measures that can slow kidney disease, drinking water is a good one. And in fact, our group found evidence, multiple lines of evidence, that drinking too little water can be a risk factor for kidney disease. First off, there's a very simple blood test you can look at with your doctor. It's called the serum sodium, and sodium is spelled Na when it comes to its symbol. Its chemical symbol is N, capital N, small a. And normal serum sodium can vary from 135 to 142 or 144 milliequivalents per liter. So the number to look for is normal goes from 135 to 144. But guess what? The people who have a high sodium aren't drinking enough water. We know this. This is the salt goes up when you don't drink enough water. And so it turns out that people who have a serum sodium in the normal range, but 142 or 143, in the normal range, they have increased risk for kidney disease, more than double the risk. And when we studied it in animals, we could actually show how it worked. And it is absolutely clear to us that drinking water can slow kidney disease in animals. We published it in good journals. And so ask your doctor what your serum sodium is. If it's between 136 or 135 and 140, you're drinking the right amount of water. But if your serum sodium is over 140, you should increase your water intake. Now, how much water should you drink? I would recommend, 8 cups or 6 tall glasses a day as your starting point. Everybody's water intake can vary, and some people, who are working outside where they're sweating have to drink more water than other people who stay, are eating foods with a lot of water content and aren't exercising as much. But so everyone varies. But a good rule of thumb is 8 cups or 6 tall glasses of water a day. Or if you want to do the water that those 500 milliliter bottles, drink four to five of those a day would be like fantastic. Can you overdrink? Yeah, there are some people who hear this, that water is good, and they try to just flood themselves with water and drink 20, 30 glasses a day. And that can get you into trouble if you have kidney disease, because the kidneys have trouble getting rid of water and salt. They don't regulate it as well as people with normal kidneys. So if you drink 20 cups of water a day, that could be dangerous. So what I would do is follow that rule of 2 to 3 liters of water a day, or the equivalent of 6 tall glasses. And that should be one thing everyone does.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Now, Wisconsin Grandma, who's a regular here, asked, is it okay to mix your water with coffee, tea, or True Lemon? And I can tell you what that is if you're not familiar, just for variety. And True Lemon is just lemon juice has been dehydrated. It comes in a packet so that it's easy to carry. And it's actually what makes my water yellow. I add it in here to give me some flavor because I get bored of drinking water only.
Yeah. So actually, it's counterintuitive to a lot of people, including to me originally, until I understood it better. But coffee is healthy for the kidneys. Coffee is healthy for metabolic disease, diabetes, gout. And in fact, people who drink 4 cups or 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day have a lower risk for developing diabetes than people who do not. Ooh. And likewise, it decreases the risk for gout. And gout is a common disease in patients with kidney disease, very common. And it's painful. You get this arthritis, typically of the big toe, but it can be in the knee and the wrist. And it's not a good thing. So it turns out that coffee has an antidote for gout that's real. So most people with gout will take a drug called allopurinol. The guy that invented allopurinol got the Nobel Prize. Allopurinol, along with some other drugs that guy made, have been some of the most important drugs in the management of things like gout, other conditions. But allopurinol can rarely cause an allergic reaction, which is really can be severe. It's rare, but it's more common if you're Asian. So if you're from Korea or China, the risk for an allergic reaction with allopurinol is like 1 in 20, where it's like 1 in 400 in a person who's white. So there are other medicines that can lower uric acid, but interestingly, coffee has a derivative that's it's not allopurinol, so it doesn't give the allergic reaction, but it works on uh, the same system to lower uric acid. And so people can lower the uric acid by drinking lots of coffee. And a little bit of vitamin C is also good. And when you drink coffee or take a little bit of vitamin C, like 500 milligrams a day, that's actually good for the kidneys. So coffee, when you say, can I add coffee? Yes, just don't add the sugar with the coffee.
There you go.
And tea is more neutral, but it's actually good tasting and it's not negative. So you can drink tea. It's not going to reduce your risk for diabetes, but it's quite good. And green tea actually has substances that are good for the metabolic health. So green tea is good. And lemon is actually fine. Lemon has no sugar in it. And it's one of the few fruits that does not contain sugar. And lime is another one. And I think those could be, you can add that to the water. What you don't want to add to the water is sugar or,
Mm.
something, syrups. Because interestingly, sugar can cause not just obesity and diabetes, which it's now proven, but it can actually worsen kidney disease, especially liquid sugar. Now, everybody likes sugar, right? And
We
sugar is
love
in
sweet stuff, especially here in
yeah,
the States.
I love sweet stuff too. Okay. So here's the basic rule about sugar. Anytime it's liquid sugar, avoid it. Liquid sugar is much worse than solid sugar. Why is that? When you drink liquid sugar, you can drink a lot of sugar, ingest a lot of sugar in a very short time. So it's like a tidal wave. It all comes down into the stomach, and there's this big time absorption so that the sugar levels in the liver get very high very quickly. And it's that concentration that causes the problem to the kidney and the liver. So when you get a big wave of sugar to the kidneys, it actually causes kidney injury. And we found that when we had laboratory animals drinking sugar, that we could create kidney disease if we gave them liquid sugar a lot. So
Ooh.
if they were like basically drinking soft drinks instead of drinking water, they got kidney disease, like very significant kidney disease. Now, if you put sugar in solid food, the effects on kidney disease are much, much milder. So I'm not telling you to eat sugar because it really does cause a lot of problems, but it's very hard to completely avoid sugar.
Hmm.
And so by nature, a lot of foods will have small amounts of sugar and high fructose corn syrup. And the bottom line is, if you go on a keto diet or something like that, and we'll talk about keto diets and chronic kidney disease, but yeah, I would say that, it's pretty hard to avoid some sugar. So the issue is to try to reduce sugar, but don't necessarily eliminate it. And, if it's your birthday or things like that, go ahead and have a small piece of cake. Life is too short, but to be that strict. But avoid liquid sugar. That would be
Now,
my recommendation.
now, if I'm looking at two items, and this is a sugar question, and one says, because I see this all the time now, pure cane sugar. And the other one, I flip it around and it's all high fructose corn syrup. Is the cane sugar I know they're both kind of evil in a way. Is the
Yeah.
cane sugar the lesser of the evils, or does that really not make a difference?
Well, I've actually studied that, and we pair fed animals for 1/8. Actually, we also did a study in humans where we gave soft drinks that from was the famed Dr. Pepper study. And what happened was uh, there's one place in the United States, in Texas, where they make Dr. Pepper with sugar, and all the other places use high fructose corn syrup. So we did a study
Oh.
in people where everything was the same except one had sugar and one had high fructose corn syrup. And it turns out both are bad, okay? The bottom line is both are bad. That's the bottom line. That's what I want you to walk away with. But I will share with you that high fructose corn syrup is worse than sugar. They're both bad. Don't use the excuse, I'm going to eat sugar because high fructose corn syrup is worse. It is worse. It is worse. We showed that in people, we showed it in animals. Is it a lot worse? No, it's not a lot worse, but
Mm.
it is worse. And you know why? Here's why. There's two reasons, but the big reason is sugar contains fructose and glucose. So table sugar is one molecule of fructose, one molecule of glucose. You bind them together and you've got sucrose or table sugar. So it's 50% fructose and 50% glucose. It's the fructose that causes kidney damage. That's really the key. Fructose is really bad. And but when your glucose levels are high, you make fructose. So that's sort of a trick. But fructose is really the worst. And high fructose corn syrup is high in fructose. That's how I got the name high fructose corn syrup, because it's a mixture of fructose and glucose, and it's usually 55 or 60% fructose. And so when it's higher in fructose, you get more kidney damage and you get more liver damage. So if you take a soft drink that's made with high fructose corn syrup, they've done studies, and it may be 60% fructose, but if you take table sugar, a drink, it's 50%. So yes, it is worse with high fructose corn syrup. People are telling the truth that it's worse, but uh, it doesn't mean that it's not an excuse to drink sugary liquids.
Yeah, one's
So,
not better for you. It's one is less bad.
you got it. You got it.
Now, with the are there other changes that a person can make diet wise, the foods they choose, things they eat that can improve their kidney health, or maybe it doesn't improve the kidneys, but it helps their labs by making things better and more kidney friendly?
Yes. So there's in general. So let's just talk about the diet of a patient with chronic kidney disease. And if you don't mind, I'd like to tell it as a story. And
Sure.
so the story began when people started developing kidney disease. One of the tests that you look at is called your BUN, or your
Mm-hmm.
urea. And urea, um, when it goes up, normally we get rid of it through the kidney, through the urine. And when you have kidney disease, you'll retain urea. And if you gets up really high, you can actually smell it on the breath. It's not the best smelling. And so urea is, a lot of people viewed it as a significant toxin. And it was discovered, maybe 100+ years ago, that a lot of the urea comes from breaking down protein. So if you're eating a lot of protein, there's a lot of nitrogen in proteins, and you end up generating more urea. And it was discovered that just by going on a low protein diet, you would make less urea, and so your BUN levels would be lower. But it wasn't because you're making the kidney disease better. It was because the kidney wasn't retaining as much urea because you're eating less protein, so you make less. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But that people did start feeling better, a little bit better. And then in the 1970s, 50 years ago, there was a discovery by a doctor at Harvard. Actually, he was at San Francisco at the time, that if you put animals with kidney disease on a high protein diet, that they progress to end stage kidney disease more rapidly. So it wasn't just making more urea, there was the kidney disease actually accelerated. And you could take an animal with mild kidney disease and make it have severe kidney disease by making it eat tons of protein.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of made everyone go, my God, people with kidney disease should go on a low protein diet. And this got into the literature, and there is actually data that mild protein restriction, or at least not increased protein intake, can protect people with kidney disease. So by the 1980s, we were telling people to go on a protein restriction. And some people actually recommended really severe protein restriction, like what we would say 0.6 grams per kilogram or less. And then there was this discovery that, it's sort of obvious, right? We eat protein because we need it
Yep.
for our muscle. We need it we use proteins for so many things. To go on a very low protein diet is a mistake. It's a mistake. It can cause malnutrition. It can cause an increased risk for infection. It can cause death if you're on really severe protein restriction. There's even the disease of protein malnutrition, kwashiorkor, right? And so severe protein restriction is not the way to go. High protein diets are also not great. So if you're eating 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram body weight, that's what we call high protein diet. That will accelerate kidney disease. Now, if you're on dialysis, it's a little bit different because you're not really worried about the kidneys getting worse, and having high protein diet may not be so bad. But if you have chronic kidney disease, you want to slow that progression by not being on a high protein diet. Now, one of the things that came out of this was that people who are on when you go on a low protein diet, what do you eat? And so what they found was that when you're on a low protein diet, people were eating more carbohydrates and more
Which is
fat.
sugar.
Right. And then came all these studies saying, well, actually, high sugar diets are just as bad as high protein diets. They can make kidney disease worse too. So that has led to trying to find the right balance of protein and carbs. And basically, what they discovered was that normal protein intake, or just slightly low protein intake, turns out to be ideal. So somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram per kilogram of protein a day is good. And then when it comes to carbs, you want to cut out or reduce those carbs that are associated with making diabetes worse and or making kidney disease worse. And so you want to reduce sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Don't drink liquid ones. We've talked about that. And, there's the foods that we love, like bread, rice, potatoes, and chips. They tend to raise our blood glucose.
Spike it.
And,
Yeah.
and when that happens, some of that gets turned to fructose, and the high glucose isn't good either. So you want to kind of eat like a Mediterranean style diet. I know you want to go to Italy one day.
Exactly. I want to live the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, I do too. I'm going to come visit you. I think we all should. Hey, kidney warriors, let's all go visit James.
Yeah.
Anyway, but bottom line is a Mediterranean diet is a very good diet for chronic kidney disease. Some fruits fruit is actually good in small amounts. You like one serving with a meal. Don't eat 6 servings because then the sugar content starts adding up. But low sugar fruits like kiwi and so forth, you also have to worry about potassium in fruits. Some fruits like bananas have very much potassium. And some people with chronic kidney disease hold on to potassium and others don't. And you have to kind of see where you're at. Usually people who have a good urine output will not have a problem with potassium levels, but it's something you can talk to your doctor about to see if you need to restrict potassium. If you do, the fruits that can do it include bananas, oranges, avocado. Those are kind of some of the bad ones that have a high potassium, and bananas can make blood glucose go up fairly easy. And we all love bananas, but anyway, just be a little careful with those. So anyway, so the bottom line is modest protein intake. Cut back on what we call the high glycemic carbs, the carbs that raise your blood sugar. Fat isn't such a big issue. You don't want to eat a huge amount of saturated fat, but it's not a bad issue. Now there's a new diet that's being put forward that's tested, and I'll just talk a little bit about it because I'm involved a little bit in it. There is some evidence that keto diets that are not super high in protein can be beneficial in diabetic kidney disease. And there have been several little pilot studies, and there's a company called Virta, which gives dietary recommendations. And they have a low carb spiel. They really try to push low carb foods, and they have data from thousands of people, and where they've done the analysis, and it looks very promising that keto diets could be beneficial. So there's a plan to do a big clinical trial, and you can, if you are interested, I think Virta will probably be running that. But there could be some changes in the way we think about kidney disease if these diets really have as much benefit as they look like they could. So the bottom line on diet is don't eat a steak every night. Don't milkshakes and French fries are probably not ideal.
Yep.
And try to eat healthy, drink water. It's kind of it's a confusing field, because we've been changing what we recommend every 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's a changing field, and it might even change more. The go-to should be read about a Mediterranean diet. That's like a beautiful diet. Talk to your doctor about potassium and phosphate. Generally speaking, there's not a big issue with potassium, and phosphate really starts to become a problem when the kidney disease gets to starts getting significantly severe, like what they call stage 3B or stage 4.
Yep. Now, you and
That's
we've talked about something else that's starting to get talked about more and more and more that kind of is related to diet, and that's gut health. And
yes,
for me, we've had conversation before, but I've been focusing on my gut health since the beginning. I had, first of all, a great family doctor who was all about, James, we got to start eating better. You gotta, these things matter. Plus, I found eventually a great dietitian who started talking about gut health. So does that really help? For me, I've taken care of my gut health and it has been very good for me. Is that just a coincidence or is that something kidney patients actually can do?
yes. So way back around 2000, when we talked about gut health, we were worried about things like colitis, like dysentery, like these food poisoning, where you get a bad bacteria and you get bloody diarrhea, and all these kinds of things. We weren't thinking about bacterias. We were thinking about uh, problems with bad bacteria causing really severe gut disease. And then they discovered that the bacteria in the gut, that there actually can be good, that they're good bacteria that make things that are healthy for the body, and that there are also other bacteria that make stuff that's bad for the body. And they're kind of living inside us. So what happens is when they make stuff that's good, it gets into our blood. These bacteria can affect us. And so I would say 25 years ago, there was a microbiologist named Rangan who was very interested in bacteria and gut health and bacteria that can make people healthy. And it was around the time when people were discovering that people who were thin tended to have different bacteria than people who were overweight, that people who were diabetic had different bacteria in their gut than people who were not, and that if you changed the bacteria, you could help people. So Rangan decided he wanted to work on kidney disease. He didn't care about all the other diseases. Well, he cared about them, but what he decided that he wanted to help the patient with chronic kidney disease.
Mm-hmm.
And he studied this. I would meet with him every year because I was very interested in his work, and he would come to the national meetings. He would give me an update. I even did studies with his probiotics and found that I could protect animals with kidney, I could reverse some kidney damage. And we published that. And so he convinced me that this is real. And what he found was that there's two ways you can help a person with kidney disease with a probiotic. The first way is you can give it and it can make the gut healthy so that you don't absorb bad things. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you know it, but things like gluten and celiac disease is because the gut is leaky and these proteins which are present in wheat get in the blood. Normally they don't get in the blood, but if you have bad bacteria in the gut and you have what's called a leaky gut, then you can absorb these things, and the next thing you know, you're allergic, and you're defined as having celiac disease or gluten disease, and likewise, there are a lot of other conditions like peanut allergies and shrimp allergies, which are related to a leaky gut, which is associated with bad bacteria in the gut. So when you give good bacteria, you can reverse that leaky gut, or you can improve it so that you are not absorbing bad things. So one benefit of taking probiotics is to prevent the absorption of bad things. But another thing it can do is it can get rid of bad things. And so, like when you have kidney disease, your urea goes up, and you have all these things that your uric acid levels go up, and these gut bacteria that in the probiotic can literally ingest and degrade these toxins. And so we I've been involved in a big study that was done by a company called Keto, and this is the company that Rangan started, and for which he developed this probiotic called Renadil. And they've been doing clinical trials in people with chronic kidney disease, and they have seen some significant, although mild, improvement in kidney function in patients with chronic kidney disease. And it was statistically significant. It was only conducted for 6 months, and you generally don't see a huge effect at 6 months. So the effect is significant, but it's mild. But a lot of treatments don't show a lot of effect until 2 or 3 years. And unfortunately, Rangan passed away, and the study was not totally finished. And so the issue is, we're left with a statistically significant benefit, but we don't know, if it would turn into a super clinically meaningful benefit, except for the fact that we have a lot of people who've been taking it who, talk about how their kidney function has stabilized or improved. I keep hearing from people, and in fact, one of them I'd like to introduce to you. It's the kidney warrior himself, James.
Yes. There
So
are
James,
only
how about your
three.
experience?
There are only 3 supplements that I take outside of all my medication. All of them recommended by my dietitian and my doctor. One's a renal multivitamin, because you can't just go to Walgreens and grab Centrum off the shelf and take it. It's got things that build up that are not good for us. The other one's CoQ10, because it's good for my heart. And that other one, I got one of my empty bottles right here, is Renadil, which is a probiotic, which I have been taking within the first year of getting diagnosed. And when I learned about it, not to tell too long of a story, they say take it for 3 months and see how it does. I didn't believe it, because I'd heard all these false things on the internet about, cranberry juice and all that stuff being the miracle cure. And I tried them all, and my kidney numbers were still just awful. So I got labs. I ordered it. It came, and I got labs right after it came. And I started taking it for 3 months, like you're supposed to, over the holidays, Christmas, and what's the one in October? My daughter was born on it. Halloween, where you eat lots of sugar. Yeah, I did eat a lot of sugar that Halloween. And my kidney function improved. My labs improved. My BUN.
Do not eat sugar on Halloween, guys. Don't listen to James.
No. I learned my lesson. Yeah, and look, Volsa says, I got the same bottle. Yeah, this is the recent bottle that they have. And, for me, Sandy's saying, hey, James, what multivitamin? Currently, I take ProRenal Plus D, same one recommended by practically every single dietitian out there. But
water-soluble vitamins are the ones you really need to take. Vitamin B, vitamin C, folate. But vitamin E and A are fat-soluble vitamins, and they get retained in kidney disease. So you don't really want to eat a lot of vitamin A or E. Vitamin D is useful in kidney patients because it helps control calcium and stuff. But anyway, but yes.
But I've been taking
I will say one thing to just add to your stuff. When in the clinical trial that I've been privy to see the results, they found an improvement in creatinine, BUN, cystatin C, which is another measure of kidney function, and urinary protein. So it was like better than a trifecta. It was a quadrifecta.
Hey, reducing protein in the urine is massive. That's huge right there.
Yeah, all of them are good. Anyway, they were all statistically significant improvement in a double-blind study. But again, it was mild. It wasn't like earth-shaking, but it was also only 6 months. So I personally think that it is very reasonable to try it if you are
Mhm.
worried about your kidneys. If your kidneys, especially if you think your kidneys are getting worse, I think it's worthy a try, and see how if you like it. See what get your kidney function measured before you go on it, and get it rechecked at 3 to 6 months. I would say you probably should go for 6 months to really give it a good try to see if it's beneficial. Obviously, if you get any side effects, that's different, but the side effects tend to be very, very mild, if any.
Yeah, at the worst I've heard is gas. And one of the other benefits, kind of like a positive side effect of this, is it helps keep you regular. Um, when I was younger, I never had a problem with that, but when my first started having my kidney problems, when they started really getting serious, constipation, especially trying to figure out what to eat, my diet and stuff, that that was a battle in itself. And that's one of the things I've noticed. As long as I keep all my Renadil, and it seems to keep things from backing up. It's not causing problems, but it's also letting the train leave on time without any delays.
That's good. There's not there's not much worse than bad constipation.
Yeah. And for anyone out there who is considering, hey, you know, you guys all know I've talked about this for years and years that I use it. The people who make it, Kibo Biotech, did create us a discount code. Use this discount code. You can go to Renadil.com. There's a discount code that will save you some money. Not trying to turn this into a giant commercial, but you all know I am huge on saving money when it comes to, like, where do you get your True Lemon? Walmart has the best price of everyone. I am all about saving money because things just cost too much that don't help. We need to save money where
Yeah.
we can and focus on things that do help. And for some people out there, when you do look at Renadil, you typically take 2 tablets a day. That's the standard dose. Each tablet probably ends up costing, I think it's around $1.05 each. So you're spending about $2 a day, which really isn't that much. You look at what else you spend in a day. For me, it's worth. I've been taking it for so long now. I'm still not on dialysis. I started out with a single-digit GFR. Okay, 8. I was 8. They wouldn't let me out of the
That,
ICU until I got to 13 and said, James, it's never
that
going to
is
get
really
better.
low. That is really low.
Oh, let me tell you,
Congratulations.
I
How many
felt
years has it been?
awful. That was 2018. And I keep trying not to calculate how many years ago it is because I'm getting older and I don't feel old inside.
Well,
Like when
you look that.
you were saying 50 years ago, 1970, I'm like, oh my goodness, I remember the 70s. I remember standing in line for the opening of the original Star Wars.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Well, let's hope that you go another 40 years,
there we go. There we go.
50
Um,
years.
Now, with your gut health, are there other foods? There's Renadil that they can take, which is a great, unique combination of probiotic strands. I don't want everyone to think they're all the same. Are there other foods that are good for our gut health that we can include in our diet?
Yogurts in general are pretty healthy, and they often contain lactobacillus, and that's a healthy bacteria. So I like yogurt, not the sugared yogurt. You can get the syrups added to it. I would avoid that. That would not be good. But there's like a zero sugar yogurt called Chobani has. I mean, I don't have any relationship with Chobani, but they have these low sugar or less sugar ones. And yeah, I would say that's good. There is a sugar called allulose that is in some of these yogurts and stuff, and that's supposed to be a very good sugar that blocks some of these effects of fructose. But I would say a little bit of vitamin C um, is good. You don't want to eat huge amounts because it can cause kidney stones. But 250, 500 milligrams a day would be beautiful. Um, if you can, foods that tend to uh, change the pH in the urine to more of an alkaline state. There's a company that I on the scientific board for called Santa Barbara Nutrients, and you may have heard of it. They have a thing called Keto Citra, and it's got citrate in it, which helps uh, alkalize the urine or make the urine less acidic, and that's been associated with improvement in some kidney disease as well. And it also contains beta hydroxybutyrate, which is a ketone that blocks inflammation. They're doing clinical trials in kidney disease, especially polycystic kidney disease. And they're an interesting group to look at too. So Renadil is a great one. I like this Keto Citra. To be honest, I like a little bit of vitamin C. I think you can do a heck of a lot of benefit just following my recommendation for drinking water, and keeping well hydrated. Try not to eat a huge amount of salt. That's bad for the blood pressure at high levels, especially with people with kidney disease. So what they say is like 4 grams of salt a day, 4 or 5 grams. But if you do eat a salty food, let's say that you end up eating a slice of pizza, it's not necessarily good for you, but it's hard to say no sometimes. Just drink a lot of water with it. If you're thirsty, drink water, and to cut that, because when you get thirsty, you're activating uh, the processes that can make the kidney worse. So,
Yeah,
so
I'll tell
that's
you,
uh,
I
that's good.
try to avoid pizza. I used to love pizza. I could have downed an entire large all by myself, no problem. And I used to be thin when I would do that. Nowadays, even having a piece of pizza, I can only do it on the weekend. And I usually only do it like Saturday for lunch because all the sodium that is in pizza makes me so thirsty. If I have it during the week, like for dinner, I'm
Yeah.
up all night thirsty, which I'm drinking. And that means I sleep for 15 minutes and then I wake up because I got to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom. And I'm thirsty again and I'm drinking all night long.
Yes. Salt is really bad when you eat a lot of it. We actually did a study where we gave people soup. And one of the things with these creamy soups is you can hide the amount of salt in it because the creamy soup kind of blocks it. And when we gave a lot of salt, we could really induce an activation of all these hormonal systems and inflammation, and it was really bad. And these are in people, but it was transient. But if we gave the soup with water, we could block. If we block that serum sodium from going up, because the salt makes the sodium in the blood go up. If we block that, we block the thirst and we block the effect. Now that I don't want you to interpret that to mean that you can eat a lot of salty food so long as you drink water, but it will help mitigate it for sure. So if you do end up eating something really salty, or you end up eating some pretzels, drink water with it. Okay, drink water proactively. But again, I'm not really recommending you to be eating those foods. But if you do, you can try to mitigate it a little bit.
Yeah, very, very good. All right, now we are almost out of time. So I want to kind of, maybe one last big question. So, say someone's fairly new to kidney disease.
Yeah.
Uh, there's all this confusion. As we've talked, there's lots of stuff out there on the internet. We've talked about a lot of it. We've talked about a lot of good things you can do, but people usually feel overwhelmed by all this conflicting advice. What's your recommendation to help kidney patients stay focused on what really matters, to help them find good sources of recommendation so that they can help make their way through this sea of stuff that's out there on social media that they're going to come across?
Yeah. So unfortunately, things like Chat GPT and social media can lead you astray. There's just no doubt about it. I've been amazed at all the great things that Chat GPT and AI can do, but when it comes to health, they're still not quite there yet. Maybe they will be one day, but right now, I would not, put a lot of trust into social media or AI. I would not. On the other hand, there's nothing better than talking to a dietitian or your nephrologist. They're going to, in general, know what is really current and what is recommended. But things are changing. So as I mentioned, like these keto diets that are now going to clinical trial in people with diabetic kidney disease, that's kind of new. So there are these things that are happening that even specialists may not be completely abreast of. But I would begin with your nutrition, your dietitian, and your kidney specialist. That's where I would start. I would, read. You can contact James, and James can if he can't answer it, he can reach out to people like us, like me and
Hey,
others
that's
that
what
are.
I always do. I go to the professionals, the real professionals, to get my information.
Yeah, that's good. That's the way to do it. And you know what happens when someone asks me a question that I can't answer? I look at it and I think to myself, who is the world expert on it? And just because I'm kind of a professor, I can reach I'll reach the world expert. So you just have to be open, and you try to get the best information you can, going up that chain of authority and knowledge. But it is true that sometimes breakthroughs are happening. The senior guys may not be aware of it, and so if you see an article in Nature that has seems a breakthrough, you can get a copy of that article, send it to your kidney specialist, let them review it, and you may actually be helping them if it's a breakthrough. So that's what I would do. I think that it's a hassle at times to try to go through all that, but uh, worst comes to shove, what you should remember is Mediterranean diet type foods are good. Try to reduce the high glycemic foods like bread, rice, and potatoes. Try to eat a little bit less than you would normally do. Avoid sugary drinks. Try to reduce your sugar intake. Eat a moderate protein. If you're going to eat like red meats or things like that, probably no more than twice a week, and not huge portions. And and James, you'll probably have even better suggestions than this. But basically, do all these things like Renadil. They're very exciting and promising. Keto Citra is another one that I like. These are great. Renadil is particularly good because there's a clinical trial showing statistical benefit. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. And you know, I try to always go to the professionals, and when I do talk about products that I use, which is not very many of them, people could go back and watch the now 341 videos. I only talk about things that I've actually used, experienced, that did work for me, that improved my quality of life, that helped me pretty much I do not want to go on dialysis, and I don't want to get a transplant because that has other challenges that come along. I want my kidneys to be with me to the end, and I want that end to be a long time from now. So I try to stick with what's worked for me and what do, the experts that I trust, dietitians, nephrologists, real researchers, not somebody on TikTok, and not just someone posting randomly on a Facebook group. All right, Doc, we are all out of time. We've gotten so many great comments here saying thank you. So informative. We had a few people asking the best place to purchase Renadil if they wanted to get it for themselves. Get it direct, Renadil.com. Then you can use that discount code, Dadvice 2410. I do not get a kickback from that. It is not an affiliate link. It's a real discount for you guys. I take Renadil. I take it every single day. It's something I trust, just like other things that I take. You guys know I'm not out here trying to push VPNs and things like that I don't use, that aren't going to help us. We've got a great community. We're growing together, and we're all kind of lifting each other up to live this life of kidney disease. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rick. I'm sure you're going to be back again in the future. I will be back here next Thursday. Got another video next Thursday, and I have another testimonial coming up. You guys, hopefully you saw Jeff's story about a week ago, or just over a week ago. He happens to use Renadil too. He had a great dietitian. He turned his numbers around. 7 years of not doing good with CKD, and all of a sudden got with a dietitian, made a bunch of changes, simple changes, focused on gut health as one of them, and things just across the board in his labs improved. He was so inspiring to listen to. But I have another person who will be here at the end of this month sharing their experience and their positive and uplifting story. And it's someone who has a military background, which, as you guys know, I grew up a military brat, and I really appreciate the life of the military and those who serve for our country. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Dr. Rick will be back in the future, and I will be back next week. Bye, everyone.